Here we are. The Earth did another one of those little spin dances around the sun, and kind of dramatically slow, might I add. This is the TikTok age. Put some pep in your step. Earth. So if you're new here, as most of you are, in the year 2024, I decided to compile a list of every game I've played that year and jotted down some notes about each one of them. But the list had some specific rules to it. It wouldn't be every single game I played. Live service games from the previous year and games I've already played were excluded from the list, unless I dedicated a serious amount of time to them, or did a full-on replay of it. So I did that again this year, not just as like an easy video idea, but kind of, but also because I play so many games that spark a few jokes or thoughts, but not enough to warrant making an entire video about. But I can't waste those jokes, so I just gotta ball them up into this thing. So roll up your pants, because there's a flood coming. A flood of games. And of course, you don't want to get your jean ankles wet. That's like a top 5 worst feeling of all time. Wet jean ankles? No thanks, sir. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is where we're going to start today. Indy I actually started playing before last year's video was uploaded, but I started it in January, so it didn't fit within the parameters of the rules, so here it is. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a game that actively wastes your time, and acts like it's being artsy, but it's not. I know a thing or two about works of art. You're looking at one right now. My ass. What I'm trying to get out here is that they want you to play like you're actually living the life of Indiana Jones, including all of the mundane parts of his life. Things that would, grind the entertainment and gameplay factor to a halt. I'm talking about things like how you have to pull each individual item out of the satchel, or put the key in every doorknob and turn it to unlock it, and then turn the knob. That is just way too many door opening animations. And I'm a Resident Evil fan. We love doors, like, notoriously. The puzzles are challenging, but not, too difficult. And that Dead Rising pick up anything you want to use as a weapon combat system is fun, but it's bogged down by so much time wasting. It just feels like it's a 20-hour game with about 10 hours of gameplay. But I think the biggest problem is within the door opening. It's this door opening to Nazi killing ratio. It's just off somewhere. Let's look at a game that got this ratio wildly correct. 2008's Call of Duty World at War Zombies. In World at War Zombies, in about a 30-ish minute game, you'll kill hundreds, even thousands of zombies, and open, 3 doors. It feels like Indy has a door animation every 3 Nazis. It's like a full-on reversal of the ratio. And most of those, you're just sneaking past anyways. You're only whopping one with a frying pan containing a full English breakfast every, 9th one or so. But if you want, a good Indiana Jones game, go play Uncharted or any of the modern Tomb Raiders. None of those are bad. Also, another complaint. Last boss fight was so long. It felt like I could have watched all 9 of the mainline Star Wars movies in that time, which is the same amount of time as watching the full extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but not boring. That's the one that's going to get me lit up this time. You can comment, but you're wrong. I liked Indiana Jones. It wasn't terrible. Just a lot of time wasting, and I don't got time for that. On to the next one. Mika and the Witch's Mountain. This one will be significantly shorter because I did a whole video on this game. It is the first review code I ever received, and it reminds me of Paperboy, so it holds a very special place in my heart. I love Paperboy on the NES so much. That is the best game on that console. I love that game so much, I got an image of this very cartridge tattooed on my Said I didn't want to be the butthole jokes guy in the last video, and look at me now. Look, there's a lot I can say about Mika, but I have already said it, so we can just move on and you can watch that whole video if you want. But I liked it a lot. It's a fun little indie game where you fly around on a broom and deliver packages. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black Remaster. My Ninja Gaiden history is the first one for about 12 minutes through Switch Online, but I saw the announcement for Ninja Gaiden 4, and it gave me really strong DMC vibes. And I sure do love me a DMC. And I'm going to continue predicting it to be at every single gaming showcase until one comes out. DMC 6, please. But Ninja Gaiden 2 Black Shadow dropped the same day as this announcement. And I'm a GPG. That's a Game Pass guy for the uneducated. So I dove into it. And it certainly feels like a game that was made in 2008. I don't think they improved anything but the graphics here. Which is totally fine. That's what a remaster is. None of that is bad to me. Clearly, I like old games. But You can't see any of that really unless it was down like a little lower. But this might be one of the longest games I have ever played. It felt like every mission would be the one before the last mission, and somehow it almost never was. It says I played this for 10 hours and 47 minutes. But after the first 3 hours or so, these levels all started to feel like episodes of a CW show. Like this whole thing as a package could have been pretty good if there were about 15 less of these. Atomfall. I have some issues with Atomfall, but it's not necessarily Atomfall's fault. In recent years, my gaming time has decreased quite a bit. I've mentioned it many times before, and I also wouldn't call myself the sharpest tool in the box. I'm not saying I'm a complete dingus, but when I wrote that in the script, it says I don't saying I'm a complete dingus, so if that tells you anything, I'm going to run that back so I can tell the joke I wrote. I'm not saying I'm a complete dingus, but I would compare myself to a flathead screwdriver with rounded edges. I'll get the job done eventually, but I'll slip around a lot, and also I cannot do math. So when it comes to a game like this that sends me out into a vast open world with no direction, I get a little bit overwhelmed and skittish, like a horse. But I know who I am, and I know that a game like this was going to last me all of 12 seconds if I tried to just go out the exploring route. Luckily for me, this game has a setting that you can turn on that will give you waypoints for all of your missions. The downside is they don't really tell you what order to do them in. So you could end up doing something, say, like accidentally wandering to what you're pretty sure is the end of the game, getting killed like a bazillion times, but not knowing what else to do instead because you're pretty sure you are at the end in a matter of like 2 to 3 hours of gameplay. So you just kind of put it down and never touch it again. You know, something like that. The sad part is that this game looked really cool. And I was into where it was going and the gameplay was a lot of fun. But because I require a buddy to hold my hand through the whole exploration system, I scared myself off. This goes back to the whole horse thing. I'm frightened easily too. South of Midnight, on the other hand, held it. And by it, I mean my other hand. South of Midnight is a very linear game, which we have established I'm a fan of just like a second ago. If you forgot that, we've got much bigger problems in the games I played over the last year we need to take care of. It's also a game with atmosphere coming out of its ears. Earsmosphere, if you will. Which is really what this game has excelled at since before we knew what it played like. I remember the announcement for it. It had this jumpy frame rate and a big cool monster, but we had no idea what kind of game it was. But we were all super into it. And once it came out, about half of us were into it, but I was one of the ones that were really into it. I always champion these artsy games here. I love a wacky walking simulator or a just plain weird game, and this one is certainly an experience, but one that I can't really put into words. It sounds kind of pretentious, but it's a game you need to just kind of experience. Because it's the world and the characters that make this game. Not as much the gameplay itself, but Tony Hawk Shred. Now this one, talk about gameplay. You may be surprised to find out that the Tony Hawk Shred speedrun world record holder had never once laid feet on the board of Tony Hawk Shred before the stream where he won the world record. The one I had growing up was Ride, and the disappointment from that kind of kicked me off of the series for quite a bit. But if we drop the whole bit of this being the greatest game ever made because of the whole world record thing, compared to the abysmal game that is Ride, Shred is genuinely an enjoyable experience. I used the same ride board for each, yet Shred felt miles more responsive. And I felt like I was going crazy while playing it because I was actually having a good time, but I felt like I shouldn't be. And honestly, to this day, because I have not played it since then, if I didn't have documented footage, I would have believed that I blacked out and dreamt the whole thing being good. So you could say that Shred took me for a ride, and Ride took me for a ride to the doctor to get diagnosed for clinical depression. Blueprints is one that just keeps on a calling my name. I like the idea a lot. I see people having a fun time with it, and I get the concept entirely. Big old butt stuffed into your good church pants. It just doesn't work for me. I'm going to go off on a strange analogy here that people probably under the age of 15-ish aren't going to get, like, at all. But stick with me here. Some games feel like playing Guitar Hero with a Rock Band guitar controller. The general shape is there, the buttons are the same, everything feels like it should click, but it just doesn't. And that's the only way I can describe my experience with Blueprints. Game of the Year 2025, also known as Mindseye, What an experience. I was pretty hyped for the game before it came out, and there's video evidence of this. It also got me very close to the game. Like, I was in that Mindseye Discord. You know, the Discord. And I was like one of 12 people to receive a review code for this game. It seemed like nobody got them. And boy, was I not shocked at all when I booted it up after watching the downfall of this thing in like the month leading up to release, because that whole thing was like watching someone put out a house fire with another house fire, like just dropping the thing on top of the other house. And on top of that, the game wasn't good either. They were glitchy cutscenes, cut corners, and a general just lack of inspiration. When it worked, it wasn't like the most awful thing in the world. It played like GTA 5, but it took out all of the things that make GTA fun and interesting and replaced it with this dead world and no map and forgettable characters. Oh, and also like a weird drone thing. But we got more of this guy that played Lincoln Clay in Mafia 3. We like him a lot, so we have to kind of pretend like we like Mindseye so that guy does more games. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This one's about to send an angry mob after me like Shrek. I know I look a lot like him, but you can put away those torches and pitchforks. Different ears. Same nose, for sure, but different ears. I get Expedition 33. I know why everyone loves it. I know why it won all of those awards. But there has never been a game that is less for me that I wanted to play so bad. The story drew me in immediately. I think it's incredibly interesting. When I heard about it, I was locked in. The world looks cool. I adore the cast of this game. But this is some of the least fun I have ever had playing a video game in my life. Because these are not my kind of video games. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I appreciate and I respect Expedition 33 so much. But I never ever want to touch it again. I put in the time, I ran in some circles, but no matter how bad I wanted it, it just felt like a Blueprint situation all over again. Except I knew it was never going to be. But when it comes to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, this one, the internet actually makes me feel like I'm the only person on the planet to like this game. We can start with explaining that I am a notorious Thips 4 hater. That's not breaking news on this channel at all, but that is only for the career format and goals. Everything else about this game seats it as like a pretty solid entry. Parks are great, the skater selection's great, the tricks were good, physics, all of that was fantastic for 4. So if we're taking away that format and putting it more in line with the second best game in the series, and also pairing it with that entry, makes this something that I couldn't ask to be any better if I wanted to. So now all I can say is, Activision, it's time to do what everyone clearly wants you to do. Remake Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. We need significantly more games with Lil Wayne in it. Every year needs a cozy game, and this year I had 2. One of them being This County. This is just a game where you run a store. There's something about stocking shelves that tickles my homeschool brain. If you can make a livable wage just putting milk in a cooler and soda cans on a shelf, I'd never have another job. Until I realized that I would have to talk to real people and work a cash register. It's a very good thing that this game won't let you charge people the wrong price, because dyslexic Dave over here, that's me, Dave the Diver's cousin, would... joke doesn't make any sense. Would put this store out of business in 2 days from undercharging people. That's quite the entry for you guys. Got the homeschool and the dyslexic lore drops in the same entry. That's a special piece of content for you. Skate. If you hate it, you're wrong. But I'll give you my complaint about it. It further embraces the TikTokification of video games. It is like how every music artist releases 30 singles a year now, and they all have a part that is clearly written to be clipped as a TikTok soundbite. And that is always the worst part of all of these songs. This is where I have to be hopeful that Sabrina Carpenter fans are much more forgiving than Swifties. But if you ignore all of the absurd mega ramp nonsense and just play it like Skate, own some spots, jump off some buildings, break some bones, hit a sick laser flip Manny combo on a ledge, then you'll realize it's like Man-Child after the first verse. Actually a good song. Survivalist Invisible Strain caught my attention because it looks like State of Decay, but done in watercolor. And that is pretty much what it is, but it's like way more in-depth and difficult than State of Decay. And I think the best way to kind of explain where I'm at with this game is just by telling you kind of an experience I had with it. I had a small group living in a gas station sleeping in some tents that we had stolen from another group that I had found. And I was doing pretty okay a few in-game days into this universe. But in all the time I had been playing, I stayed on these back roads kind of out in a country area. So I decided that we would adventure out to the first town that I have come across. We went out as a group of 4, and we left town as a group of 1 with internal bleeding. So a word of advice, if you play Survivalist Invisible Strain, and you see a town,
you don't want to go down that run. That run's got a history. 35 people have died going down it, and some say you can still see their ghosts up there. That was on that very ski run that a group of students were killed by a wolf boy who escaped from the mental institution. You see, that ski run was once a burial ground to a tribe of vampire Wichita Indians who ate the flesh of children with no eyes. Yeah, a lot of history on that ski run.
Thank you.
Yeah.
but if your complaint about State of Decay is that it's not like as in-depth as you want it to be, this is it. This is like the super role-playing version of State of Decay. Deadzone Rogue is best described as a roguelike modern Doom. It's a fast-paced first-person shooter that requires 2 things: excessive movement and for me to suck at it, which is all the qualifications to become a Doom game. Fortunately, this one is co-op, so I had a blast playing it with friends, and learning that I could build my character to be a knife guy, not the kind that, like, when you need something open, runs across the room to show you his pocket knife, the kind that stabs people. And that kind of helped me not suck at this for at least, like, 15 levels. After that, I became kind of useless, though. But I think very fondly on my 2-ish weeks with this arcadey little slapper. And if you're just looking for a fun romp, I think you should play Deadzone Rogue. Mafia The Old Country got a whole lot of horse in it. I'm a big Mafia guy, but I prefer to be called a big-boned Mafia guy. And boy, was I disappointed that this game wasn't Mafia enough for me. It felt a lot like playing like a DS or a PlayStation Vita. Stay with me here, the last analogy was a ripper, right? Just give me a minute. This game introduced knife fights and horses to the series, and that's about all this game was. Much like how every launch title on the Vita had to incorporate the touchscreen, or the camera, or this back little touchpad thing that nobody liked. You remember this thing? What a terrible spot. And they were like, let's put this on the front of controllers. That's going to be real useful, right? And now it's a select button. And they did all that no matter how much it hurt the gameplay itself. That is Mafia The Old Country. Every couple of levels or so, you'll have like a good Mafia experience. But then they want you to get on a horse and then stab a guy like right after that. And also, it's not the 90s, basically Sopranos, the game version of Mafia that I've been begging for since Mafia 3. Where is it? Just give it to me. I've been holding out on buying Funko Fusion for a long time because I was once a Funko Pop guy, as many of you also were. Outside of a select 1 or 2, that would be this Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 4 and the Boss Baby in a suit. Most of them have been in a box in that mystery tall wall door thing for years. This thing. I was interested in this game, but not interested enough to pay that much for it. And then they gave it to me for free, so I finally tried it. I'm realizing how much this is starting to sound like the flex of people give me game codes. They don't give me good ones, but I definitely didn't finish this game. It felt like every level was 3 years long, and it had a real Lego Star Wars 1 vibe to it. Like, you can see that the next one would probably be pretty decent, because there is something there that needs adjusting, and it's the 4-hour-long levels. But what I played of the Scott Pilgrim world made me smirk a little bit, and there were some genuinely fun moments. It's also a game that could just use a lot of polish. It's a little glitchy. But I got big hopes for Funko Fusion 2, Electric Funkoogaaloo. Should I stop the video? Lollipop Chainsaw is a game I have always seen and been aware of, but I never actually played it. I adore James Gunn, as I've shown before. I have eyes, so I know what is coming by saying that I am a fan of this game. I know it's got a case of the Stellar Blade syndrome, but I have never fallen harder for a game. I'm a loud and proud Lollipop Chainsaw fan. It is Devil May Cry meets Johnny Napalm from Guitar Hero meets pervert. And it's my cross to bear that that's my thing. But I wouldn't have it any other way. The way this game, like, bleeds punk rock and metal all the time, and the way it constantly subverts your expectations with, like, the Peacemaker-style dialogue that James Gunn is known for. It's nonsense all the time, and I love it. And more games should take themselves so not seriously like this one does. Ninja Gaiden 4, I mentioned like an hour ago that I was really excited for. At least I think I did. And it was another big disappointment for me this year. Weird complaint for a Ninja Gaiden game, I know. But Slow down. How dare you be so fast? It also felt a little bit too Dark Soulsy for me. And maybe it's because I came off of playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is a much slower paced game. But it felt like this game was running at a breakneck speed all the time. And I'm sure neither of these are complaints that anyone else had. But that's it. Nothing else. I just was disappointed by this one, and it was too dang fast. I was so high on Black Ops 6 last year, and somehow am so low on Black Ops 7. Like the height of my ankles low, which is only like 4 inches below my head. That's a joke that I'm really short, and I don't even think it's a very good one, but it's in here. I'm a Call of Duty campaign guy. That's what I'm here for. The big bombastic action set pieces, which are the thing they completely removed from this one. They made it a 4-player squad-based shooter, which kills any hopes of set pieces, and it now functions like any other form of Call of Duty multiplayer, where it requires you to be online all the time, so you can't pause even if you're solo, and you can get kicked for being idle, just playing campaign by yourself. I don't know how many times I have been 40-something minutes into a mission, and then I have to go get a drink or something, or I have to go tend to my child, and I come back to the game kicking me with 0 checkpoints, and I have to start all the way back over at the beginning. So it's safe to say I've not finished this game. I made an Instagram reel complaining about this, and I get about 12 comments a day telling me it's my fault for buying the game. So since I'm talking about it, I'm going to use this as my platform to tell you guys, stop leaving that comment. I get it through Game Pass. And I get my Game Pass like your uncle got cable TV in 2002. I steal it from the neighbor. Yeah, I don't pay a dime for Game Pass. South Park Snow Day. I have been a diehard South Park fan since basically birth. I have seen every episode, the movie, played every game excluding, I think, Chef's Love Shack, and of course, South Park Snow Day. I saw the reviews at launch when I just didn't have time to play this, so I put it deep in the backlog until I found an equally deep sale, which I did. It places itself as part of the recent series of games, The Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole, but it plays nothing like those. Instead of beautifully recreating the animation from the show and packing it full of references and surprisingly engaging combat and RPG mechanics, they made a low-effort roguelite that looks like an N64 game with a single cutscene of original writing, while the rest of the game kind of just carries itself on the same 3 jokes, and the whole thing feels just kind of like a button mash cash grab. But if you're a South Park fan that got it on sale for $5, you can knock it out in like 2 nights and never think about it again. So there's that. When it comes to Marvel Cosmic Invasion, we can look back to this channel's history a little bit and see that I was a big Turtles in Time fan, and then also a Shredder's Revenge guy, and then also clearly a comic book guy. But when I got to Cosmic Invasion, a side-scrolling beat-em-up wasn't really what I was in the mood for. I played about 5 levels or so and then put it in sleep mode for now. I'll probably make this like a Steam Deck game, because I do see that I will really enjoy this when the mood strikes me again. I don't really have like jokes or anything interesting on this one. It just kind of made it within the parameters of this list. But it's a game that I'm like really interested in. I really want to play when I'm in the mood for it. So maybe I'll talk about it when I've actually dove deep. Mario Kart World is drifting into the final spot as I picked up a Switch 2 Mario Kart World bundle right before the new year. And this is by far the best Mario Kart game since Double Dash. It brings so much new to the table and executed it all flawlessly. It looks incredible. It breathes a whole new life into Mario Kart with the Knockout Tour stuff and the open world. And I had a lot of free time at the end of the year to just plow through this thing and unlock every costume, character, and track in a matter of a few days. And a lot of people complained that this game didn't have enough content. But between the regular Grand Prix and the Knockout Tour and all of the changes to the old tracks that they brought back and added into this world, not to mention the open world stuff, I feel like this game is packed with too much content for a Mario Kart. Yeah, it's not giving you what Mario Kart 8 gave you, but that's a game with like a GTA 5 level lifespan. So give it some time, we'll probably have some more. But my biggest gripe is that this is the most rubber bandy Mario Kart of all time. If you do anything in the 50cc range, they will rubber band back to you from Buzz Lightyears away. You could be a full track ahead of the next racer behind you, and you'll somehow get red shelled, and that number 2 guy will be somehow passing you. It defies all logic. It's not possible for someone to move that fast, yet they do. It's so many rubber bands that I feel like I'm trying to get all the collectibles in Bully again, and I just can't do that. Sorry if that one didn't make any sense to you. I don't have a lot of references to rubber bands, but I needed an outro joke. Because that was every game I played in 2025, with 2 honorable mentions of Arc Raiders and Hitman 3, both of which I dabbled in for a moment but haven't been able to give them the time for them to make it onto this list. So maybe next year, or I'll never pick them up again. Of course, if you watched the last one of these, you may have realized that there were a few games on the backlog from that video that I didn't get to in this one. Those would be Balatro, Dead Rising Remastered, Stellar Blade, and Silent Hill 2. So, those will carry over into next year as we start to build a live backlog of every game I'm skipping each year. And while we're at it, we need to add a few from this year that I haven't gotten to yet, which would be The Altars, Split Fiction, and Chronos The New Dawn. 3 games I definitely won't get to, but I should probably cut this one off and let you go. I got 2 more videos to make, one of them being Tony Hawk, like I promised in the video before this one. And should probably get to playing some of that backlog as well. But if somehow you still want more of me, probably have a backlog of my videos to get through, as there's a whole bunch of you that have just shown up in the last few weeks to a month ago, depending on how fast I can get this thing edited. I spent a lot of time working out this new microphone situation because boy, did people really like the look of the PlayStation Move microphone. But I agree with you, it did not sound good. But I appreciate all of you that suffered through that. But if you've seen all those older videos and you need something to do in the meantime while you wait for more, you can always check out my streams on Friday nights or wherever else I may be at. There's a website you can go find everything I do. I think that's it. All right, bye, dude.